personally, I think all this idea of where the president should come from or the candidate should come from is a distraction, because then...
Hello and what's up, guys? In this video, a top northern elder has just shaken the entire country, and what he said on live TV is already causing outrage. He boldly declared that presidential zoning is a total waste of time and nothing but a distraction. According to him, Nigerians should stop debating where the next president comes from and instead focus on who is the best for the job. He didn't mince words. This zoning issue is misleading Nigerians. We tried regional politics in 2015, and just within 6 months, we saw the disaster it brought. Nigeria needs a visionary leader, not zoning. But immediately this video surfaced online, Nigerians started firing back. One angry comment reads, "These Northerners are acting like Nigeria began in 1999. What about the decade they ruled during the military era? Was that not governance?" Another person added, "Let's be honest, in a country like Nigeria, rotational presidency is still needed, at least for now. Let the South finish its term till 2031, or let's divide this country once and for all." And it gets deeper. Some believe there is a calculated plot by the North to use Peter Obi and other Southern candidates to divide the South and take back power to the North, just like that. One commenter wrote, "When it is the North's turn, zoning matters to them, but when it is the South's turn, they say it doesn't. Are we fools?" There is also serious tension within the ADC coalition. Southerners in that alliance are now being warned to pull out immediately if the 2027 presidential ticket isn't zoned to the South. Another voice thundered, "Don't let the North use you to remove a Southerner, only to take back power to their region after Buhari's 8 years of failure." Guys, the battle for 2027 has already started. This zoning debate could be the spark that lights the fire. Guys, I will let you watch this video for yourself so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Take a look, guys, and remember to share your thoughts after watching.
My question for you is very simple and straightforward, Prof. What do you think the candidate...
Okay, you are coming with simple questions again. And when I give one, you say the answer is too simple.
Okay, no, mine is very simple, Prof. Very simple. What do you think the candidate of the ADC should come from? The North or the South?
If you ask me personally, I don't care. I think we're wasting too much time, too much energy in this country, not allowing this democracy to take root by insisting that a presidential candidate must come from one region or another, one party or another. If you ask me personally, I would prefer that at the helm of affairs, we go for the very best, who has an agenda for a united, strong, economically viable Nigerian state. Personally, I think all this idea of where the president should come from or the candidate should come from is a distraction, because then we don't look for ingredients of good leadership in that person. The whole thing begins and ends with where the presidential candidate should come. And I think, honestly, the nation's time is being wasted by these politics. I think by now, I would have preferred to see that we are beyond that. We look for not where people come from, but what they have to deliver. We have tried this regional stuff a number of times. In the last, let me say, in the last 8 years, it has yielded nothing but bitter disappointment for the ordinary citizen in this country. We insist on people, they come in and it's a disappointment. 2015, we went through this. There was an election with mass appeal. In fact, so the leading candidate had a cult followership. Within 6 months, it was clear. It became clear that that was a monumental mistake. And that carried on until the end, until 2023. And then we began again.
Prof, with due respect, you're
yes,
talking idealism. But you know, ideals do not work in Nigerian politics. With due respect, if I am to say ideally, I subscribe to what you said. In fact, I'd even go further by saying competence. Educational, economic, cognitive competence. I would even say also part of the competence should be drug tests above board. So let's even see if any drug or any extra matter is affecting their cognitive competence. But that's ideals. But you and I know the country doesn't work on that. Since the 1960s, since we gained independence, Let me even date back since 1914. This is when the amalgamation happened. Let me even date back since 1906, thereabout, when the first amalgamation happened of the Southern Protectorate, before the amalgamation with the Northern Protectorate happened in 1914. Where you are from has always heralded our politics and our politicking process, even when we had a regional government. Yes, you can say it's been a colossal misfortune getting leaders through that way, but that's always the case. It will be power swinging to the north. People will now make argument for power to swing to the south afterward to be able to keep a level of balance and fairness. People that distort that octet, they are called aberrations. Like in the case of Jonathan, where Umar Musa Ardua did die, and somebody from the south had to step in. We even do it so much with our political party ticket. Once you have a presidential candidate from the north, you must have a vice presidential candidate from the south. Once you have a presidential candidate from the south, the vice presidential candidate from the north. And that's why I asked this question, because as we speak, the fact on ground is the question I asked you is dividing the ADC. And if the ADC will fail, that will be the reason. A lot of people feel the zeitgeist of the nation will be a southern presidency. A lot of people also feel that the North should be able to make a big inroad, and this is the time for them. Some feel that when you cut short this presidency and you bring in a northern candidate, in a case where another candidate wins, it's going to be an aberration to the South. That's the permutation on ground, and that's why I asked the question. So let's leave the toga of idealism now. Let's talk about the reality permutation. And I'll ask that question again. Where would you want the presidential candidate to come from?
If you want my personal opinion, you are not getting it. Short and simple. I live on idealism, and idealism is hope. And I always am hopeful, no matter what the situation. Look, it's not all about me, okay? It's about the nation. As far as I'm concerned, if you are trying to put me in a pigeonhole, my pigeonhole is Nigeria. My pigeonhole is someone who will deliver the dividends of the democracy. My vision is for one who will care about the future of our children. Look, I was hopeful, maybe naively so, in 2023, that some of the aberrations of the Buhari administration will be corrected and will be put back on the path of national unity, national cohesion, and so, but that's not what we are seeing.
Prof.
And I'm not here. The persons who will decide who will rule are the electorate, and I'm only one of maybe 100 million. I cannot impose my view on that.
Prof.
Yes, please.
I got your point. Let the electorate decide. But do you think that this coalition, in terms of their goal, they say they want to get APC out of power, they want to remove Tinubu out of power. That's clear enough. Even if some people say, well, they have no ideologies, they have no alternatives, this is a hatred for Tinubu. But do you think they can succeed in terms of your assessment of the coalition itself and, their strategic projection?
My read for now, given the little evidence that we have from the coalition, is that, to me personally, it's a bit of a disappointment. One, I have not seen a coherent statement of what they intend to do. Second, I am disturbed by the emphasis on personalities. Who is going to be president, to be paired with who is going to be the national, president of the Senate, who is going to be the secretary to the federal government. And I said, it gave me a sense of deja vu. We have been there before. We are going back to square one again. Is it all about personalities, or is it going to be about the future of Nigeria? And of course, how to get out of the many quagmires we have. If indeed the emphasis is on personalities, all those personalities, or rather nearly all the personalities in the coalition, have serious baggages. And in order for them to convince Nigerians, they have to bend over backwards and say something different. If it is all about personalities, I think they are dead on arrival. If they can present a coherent policy program and tell us, convince us how to change or how to, one, restore national institutions that have been captured, if they can revitalize the economy, if they can promote inclusion, rather than what we have these people going with their own. So I don't see anything. So if that is the case, honestly, talking to people, I've talked to many people who are bitterly disappointed that we are not seeing what we should see. That is to say, a program to get back Nigeria rather than to allow it to be captured, as is happening now.
So, Prof, does this mean that for now the Arewa Consultative Forum is not aligned with the coalition?
No, I'm not speaking for the Arewa Consultative Forum. I'm speaking for myself as an analyst. That's one. The Arewa Consultative Forum has always been a non-partisan organization. It's a socio-cultural group of persons. Now, the other thing is also that we have not taken a decision on this. So I'm not speaking for the ACF. Let me make this very clear. In order to be able to take a position on that, we need to meet, we need to discuss. But like I said, historically, we have never been clearly for any party. We've been for Nigeria, and within Nigeria, groups in the country. So this is the position. The ACF has not met and is not likely to endorse any tendency because it's an amalgamation of many interests where people of different political interests, different political inclinations, and like happened in the process leading up to 2023. The ACF invited all the major political parties, provided a platform for them to explain what they have for the country. So some appeared. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu then appeared, Peter Obi appeared, and some refused. So the ACF does not and will not take a definite position for and against anybody. We are for or against policies that will be put on ground.
Give Bola Tinubu his flowers for his political strategy. Yes, but don't twist history to say he simply picked a northerner to remove a southerner. That is lazy storytelling. The truth is, Jonathan lost because he failed Nigerians. So let's unpack this story calmly. Because when we twist political history to suit personal fear or convenience, we lose the lesson that can actually help us win. Let's talk about Jonathan. Jonathan didn't take the presidency in the normal sense. He inherited it through a constitutional process after Yar'Adua's death. But make no mistake, a large portion of the North felt robbed of their full term. The reason he struggled as president wasn't because he was from the South. It was because he wasn't ready for the storm that came with the job. Jonathan governed like someone who believed he was being done a favor. His tone, his demeanor, and even his appointment reflected a man who did not fully believe he had the right to that seat. That is why Nigerians rejected him. Not because he was Southern, but because he seemed unsure, unassertive, and unprepared. So Tinubu's choice of Buhari was not only about region, it was about perceived electability and existing voter base. Buhari already ran for president 3 times before 2015, therefore building a massive loyal followership in the North, especially in the Northwest. Now, when Kenneth Okonkwo said the North did not insist on completing their 8 years after Yar'Adua's death, that's not true. Let us talk. First, let's go back to 2010. Yar'Adua died and Jonathan became acting president. The Northern political elite felt shortchanged. That is why in 2010, top Northern PDP leaders, including Adamu Sairoma, formed a Northern Political Leaders Forum. Their goal was to insist that the Northerners should replace Yar'Adua, not Jonathan. They didn't just grumble, they took action. They screened several Northern aspirants and eventually endorsed Atiku Abubakar to challenge Jonathan at the PDP primaries, where Atiku lost. That was political revolt. Second, after Jonathan won in 2011, the Northern elite didn't keep quiet. In fact, they went louder. From 2011 to 2015, the Arewa Consultative Forum and the Northern Elders Forum constantly criticized Jonathan's leadership. They accused him of marginalizing the North, mismanaging the Boko Haram crisis, and creating economic imbalance. They painted Jonathan as a threat to national unity, and by 2013, they were already openly calling for his removal. Third, let's talk about Buhari. From 2011 to 2015, Buhari's popularity in the North grew rapidly. He became a symbol of protest against Jonathan's government. In 2011, running under CPC with barely any national structure, Buhari pulled over 12 million votes, mostly from the North. That was a loud message. We are not with Jonathan. So Buhari on its own, after gathering this momentum, by 2015, the movement had matured. Buhari now with Tinubu's backing and APC merger behind him, such as Rotimi Amechi, Adams Oshimole, and the rest, secured Buhari's the win. So this was a combination of factors: Buhari's popularity, the strategic Northern rejection of Jonathan's leadership built over years of dissatisfaction, and the merger. And finally, the most painful proof that the North insisted for their 8 years was the post-election violence. After Jonathan won the 2011 election, Northern Nigeria erupted in deadly riots. Over 800 people were killed according to Human Rights Watch. And who were the targets? Southerners living in the North, PDP officials and electoral staff. That wasn't just electoral anger. That was rage fueled by belief that Jonathan's victory was illegitimate. That was the clearest form of revolt. So when someone tells you that the people in the North did not insist for their 8 years, they're not telling you the full story. Kenneth Okonkwo said when someone from the North loses an election and claims it was rigged, the North will rise and fight. Unlike the South, where people call for negotiation. Granted, but respectfully. Let's remember, in 2023, Atiku Abubakar, a Northerner, ran for president. He also said the election was rigged. Yet, we did not see the North rise or insist on reclaiming its mandate. There was no mass resistance, nor widespread Northern pushback. So if we go by that logic, the difference isn't necessarily in regional reaction. It may actually be about voter-based strength, political preparation, and public belief in the candidate's ability to win and defend their vote. And if that's the case, then Kenneth might just be acknowledging indirectly that the North had built a stronger political base over time. That's a fair point, but it is better to say it clearly rather than beating around the bush and addressing it as regional sentiment, one truth at a time.
Hello, fellow Nigerians. I remain your brother, Dr. Haruna Goro. This is a special broadcast to call upon former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to please think twice about running in 2027. I speak to you today a truth that I know is very, very difficult, but I can't help but speak what is inside my heart. It is a necessary truth for the future of our nation, Nigeria. It is also a truth that is born out of love and a deep desire for her progress. We honor Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, a man who has served this great nation in many capacities. As Vice President, businessman, a believer in democracy, and someone who has dedicated over 3 decades of his life to public service, you deserve to be honored, sir. But even the most loyal servant to a nation must know when to pass the baton or torch to the next generation. Even the strongest tree must give way for a new seed to grow. Alhaji, you have contested for presidency 6 times, and each time the people of Nigeria have spoken clearly and decisively. This shouldn't be about your personal ambition, it should be about our reality. The time has come for you to step aside, not in defeat, but in dignity. Real leadership is not just about holding power, it is also about knowing when to go and who to pass it to. Please find the courage to do that very soon. In 2019, you saw potential in Peter Obi and you chose him to be your running mate. In 2023, both of you stood as presidential candidates in 2 different parties. Your votes were split, giving room to the rise of this present regime of tyranny. Wisdom demands that you should be wiser this time around. It is said, once beaten, twice shy. But when it's not just once beaten, but several times beaten, it is time to know God may be saying something. And now we see a different kind of leader rising. Peter Obi, a man who in 2023 captured the hearts of many young people, of everyday Nigerians, and those who had long given up hope in politics. A man who didn't buy loyalty, but earned trust. He didn't come with billions like others. He came with ideas, vision, and integrity. He did not speak at the people, but he listened to the people with a vision for a promising future. This is the kind of leadership that Nigeria needs now. Sincere, focused, and accountable. Nigeria is not a country of old men alone. It is a country where over 70% of our people are under 35 years. We cannot continue to be a young nation led by those unwilling to make room for the next generation. To truly move forward, we must choose legacy over ego. We must make way for a new Nigeria. This is not the time to divide the opposition. This is not the time to settle scores. It is the time to unite to save Nigeria. It is not the time to compete when we should collaborate. To defeat the ruling party, we need a united front, a common vision, and a candidate who can inspire hope and not just votes. That candidate is Peter Obi. This speech and this call is not meant to be a political talk. It is all about seeing the birth of a new Nigeria. And whatever we can do or give up or sacrifice to make that possible, it should be the dream and the aspiration of all Nigerians. In conclusion, I want to call upon you, sir, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Your name is etched in Nigerian history, but perhaps your greatest act of leadership now is not to run again, but to support, to mentor, and to endorse the future. And I know you can do it, sir. You're a statesman. Stand not as a competitor in 2027, but as a kingmaker, a statesman, a patriot who knew when to pass the baton. A new generation is ready. The people are ready. Let Atiku step aside. Let Obi step forward. And let Nigeria rise again. This is my humble call. I have not been paid to do this. I did this because of my love for a new Nigeria. To bring an end to this regime of tyranny, all of us must come together, unite, irrespective of our tribal differences or religious differences. We only have one nation to call our own nation, and that nation is Nigeria. And Nigeria must rise again. This is the time to see the birth of a new Nigeria.